You're listening to the Grind Line Podcast.
What's up, and welcome to another episode of the Grind Line Podcast. I'm your host, Greg. I'm here tonight with Ryan. You're listening to episode 353. There was a lot of hockey since we recorded last, but Ryan, how are you?
I'm pretty good. Just got off a little live spot with Ryan Walsh and Sports Intel out of Grand Rapids. So had a good conversation right before this talking Wings hockey. So I am primed and ready to go, Greg.
For like the first time ever. How was your Halloween?
You know what? I don't know if I want a small talk after that little jab. No, it was good. The weather was perfect. Had some chili across the street with the neighbor. The kids had a great time. We have a lot of freaking candy. And yeah, it was great. Friday night Halloween is the best.
We got our the high school around the corner does like a homecoming parade where they and they start at the end of my subdivision. So this is the first year we've ever like watched it with the kids. We walked down there to the end and brought one of those collapsible wagons you can get from Costco, and they throw candy. Well, since we were at the beginning of it, the kids filled the wagon with candy. And we were able to use that candy to set out for trick-or-treaters, so I didn't have to buy any. And it was
brilliant.
Fantastic. Saved me like $50, but it was a good Halloween.
We combo 4 houses together at one.
Oof.
Like I put a sign up in front of mine saying we're across the street, but we got rid of just about all of it. Because toward the end, you get the stragglers. There's some older kids that like to come through right at the end, but they'll bring like a freaking pillowcase.
Yep.
So we look at them and be like, hey, you've got a lot of room. You should probably take 2 giant handfuls of candy.
Get rid of it, or else it's just going to sit in my house. But like Halloween, the Detroit Red Wings had both tricks and treats this past weekend. And apparently the referees did too. So where do we want to start? I don't think we need to go all the way back to the LA game. The LA game we won in a shootout. But I want to kind of contrast a couple games, which are going to be the Anaheim game and the San Jose game. And if we look at the Anaheim game first, the Red Wings ended up losing 5-2. Which, if you looked at the kind of game card that you can get off Natural Stat Trick that shows Corsi percentage and it shows high danger chances and all the kind of useful stats you want to look at to determine who was the better team, the Ducks really edged out the Red Wings in Corsi, so they controlled the puck more. They had one fewer high danger chance for at 5v5, but overall, I think the game itself was a lot closer than the score. But you had a Mo Seider goal that absolutely should have counted called back. There was no kicking motion there. You had a ton of penalties called. You had John Gibson push a net off that gave them a goal. It was just sloppy play, an undisciplined play, and it turned into what I would like to call the Wes McCauley show, because Wes McCauley gets views for funny calls, and he was able to make a lot of them that night.
There was 13 penalties called in that game between both teams. And I think the no goal for Seider really did kind of flip things on its head, because that went from that would have made it what? 3-1? No, what would have it made it right there? Okay, so it should have been a 3-2 lead for Detroit, but it didn't. And instead, now Detroit shortly after that was trailing again. And it just kind of took the wind out of their sails, it felt like. And that's not necessarily for the fact that it shouldn't have, because they were playing, I think, a solid game up until that point. But when that got pulled away, it reinvigorated Anaheim, it seems like, which, my God, are they a fast team. And I was talking to Mario. It's
because they're all like 12 years old.
Yeah, I was talking to Mario in the background, and that's a team you just can't get into the race with. It's much like Edmonton. You don't want to be going up and down the ice with them, because that is how they're going to wear you out and eventually beat you. And in a way, that's kind of what Anaheim did. I get that it was a rough show, but at the same time, props to the person that yelled at me to calm down and said, you can't go 1 for 7 on the power play and expect to win a game. Yeah, you're right. It is what it is. Was I happy about it? No. Was it a good call or a good way to go about the game? Absolutely not. They didn't look good after that point, and it is what it is.
No, they were also slightly unlucky. They had a PDO of 89.9 in that game, but where they continue to improve, which is nice is in the face-off dot. So there was a pretty bad game for face-offs that a lot of people were ragging on them against LA, where their face-off percentage was a 48.4, but in the game against Anaheim, it was a 64.2. The game against San Jose, it was a 63. And Dylan Larkin, I think, is leading the charge in the face-off department because he has been an absolute beast in the circle this past season. Right now, his face-off percentage on the season is 56.7%. Last season was a 54.5. Season before was a 55.4. This is his best season so far in the face-off dot with 148 face-offs won and 113 lost. And he is really carrying the team in that direction. It's something he's really worked on, which is really nice to see.
And that's huge because you look at Raz, he's at a 60.7% clip. And I think for as much flack as he's been getting, that's a game changer right there. I mean, you look at Luke Glendening back in the day, that was what he was out there to do other than
cool
drive you absolutely drive you crazy defensively, but also go win a draw. You're getting that from Raz. You're getting it from Larkin, as you just pointed out. Even Casper's over 50, almost 51%. JT Compher is over 50%. As a team right now, they're sitting 6th in the league with face-off win percentage. That is huge, and what can be a game changer. Now, we did see recently that they lost. Was it? I think it was San Jose or LA. They had a late. They just could not win a draw to save their life. I think it was the San Jose game.
It was LA. It was late because there was 2 minutes left. They pulled their goalie. They couldn't win a face-off, and LA ended up coming back to tie it.
So that's like the damned if you do, damned if you don't when you look at the stat line, because they're 6th in the league, but when it matters, that's where it matters. And you need to see those things. We also need to stop seeing some late third period collapses. But regardless of the fact is you're seeing them in a position that we're not used to seeing them in the last several seasons. This face-off percentage is one of them. They're top 10 in both the power play and the penalty kill right now. Looking pretty good at the moment. Still trying to temper that. But the fact, like I said before we hopped on, this is their best start to a season, meaning 9 wins through 13 games since the 2010-2011 season.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the second half. A couple other things that have led the Red Wings to a really strong road series here. Alex DeBrincat's bounce back. He has had 4 goals in his past 4 games, past 5 games, along with 4 assists in his past 5 games. So 8 points in 5 games for Alex DeBrincat. And we knew that once he got one in, that's when you open the floodgates. They keep scoring. And he even said that himself. He's like, sometimes they go in, sometimes they don't. And now they're going in for him, which is really nice. The other thing that is showing up big is Lucas Raymond seems that he's pretty close to 100% now.
Oh.
He's taking more contact. He's being more physical. He's winning more board battles. He had an absolutely filthy goal against the Sharks where he just walked around 2 guys and put it top bar down. And it was awesome to see. It's really good to see Lucas coming back because if you're going to keep doing what you're doing, you need Lucas firing and you need DeBrincat firing, especially with Kane still out.
Yeah, the Raymond goal in particular, I think really speaks to him being back, as you mentioned, closer to 100%. And what I would love about that play the most is what Sandin-Pellikka was able to do to walk across the back end toward the blue line, give a beautiful cross-ice pass to Ray, who then makes an even more gorgeous play to get around the defender and fire one past a blind Nedeljkovic. That right there, and then the way that he was attacking the puck on the forecheck showed that we've got the Raymond back that we've been waiting for. And he's not playing timid. He's not necessarily throwing the body, but he never really has to. And I think that's what's so dangerous about him when he's going after the puck. And then on DeBrincat, he's got 15 points in 13 games. The fact that he just now started scoring goals is incredible.
Yeah, we said he was putting up points that just wasn't going in the net. He was assisting.
He leads the team in assists. The guy that you think would be leading the team in assists is Dylan Larkin, not Alex DeBrincat. And that's, I think, your best case scenario for a guy that didn't start scoring goals until 3 games ago.
And the other guy that, like, and you already mentioned him a little bit, Axel Sandin-Pellikka, after having a few down games, I thought, has really come back pretty strong against Anaheim, against San Jose. He does have 4 points in his 13 games that he's played so far, but he looked like he was getting a little bit slower, was getting winded a little easier, but he did have a really good couple bounce back games here. And hopefully he can take that into Vegas, because Vegas is a very strong team, a very heavy team.
That's going to be a fun test. And I don't know if fun's the right word to use, but it's going to be a good test. And I appreciate it. I'm not trying to get too far ahead of what we're going to talk about. But ASP getting moved around on the defense and having Sherratt now as his partner, I think has been kind of a good thing for both, because they're still seeing some sheltered minutes. It goes back and forth. And what I mean by sheltered is they're not out there trying to have to worry about the opponent's top line all the time. You were seeing that with Sherratt, and I think that's been our frustration for quite a while now. Not saying that he can't do it. He's shown that he can. But there's a level of comfort, it seems like, with the way that Sherratt's going about things and now ASP that we didn't quite see. We saw it with Ed and ASP, but I think they have too much of the same mindset where they want to kind of attack.
They're both offense first.
Yeah, and with Sherratt, you know that he's going to be more sound. He's going to get crazy like Cocaine Petrie and just go. But it works for him. But what's, I think, promising and why we're so excited for ASP is he recognizes those things and is more often than not making his way back to cover down in the off chance that something bad might happen. And that's not to say that he doesn't get caught sometimes. It's just that's the nature of the way hockey goes now. But it's nice to see the maturity factor from him. And you mentioned the 4 points in 13 games. I know we don't talk about it too much. He is a -8. We've seen a lot of points where he is just kind of getting stuck out there and in no man's land, but it's just going to be trial by fire as the season goes on. And I don't think we could really ask for much more out of him at this point. Maybe on power play 1, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah, what this is also kind of opened up too, what's nice about being able to play Sherratt with ASP and trusting ASP defensively in that, because you can't always 100% trust Ben Sherratt defensively. ASP needs to be able to cover a bit for it, is that you're able to move Ed up with Mo, and that has freed Mo up a ton. That has given him a little easier deployment as well. It's brought his competition numbers down a little bit, but you saw he got a goal. He should, for all intents and purposes, have 2 goals right now on the season. He did get his goal against the San Jose Sharks, where they did play a better game. Against the San Jose Sharks, they did control play for all 3 periods at over 50%. You got a 54, a 55, and a 58. They had 8 high danger chances for at 5v5 versus the Sharks 4. They limited the Sharks' number of shots. There were some breakaways. There was some shaky play, but they do end up coming out with a win 3-2 in the shootout, which is nice. And Lucas Raymond's your top player, followed by ASP, Ben Sherratt, Dylan Larkin, Simon Edmondson, Emmett Finney, Alex DeBrincat. So the guys you want to see at the top are at the top, and they continue to stay there, which is really nice to see. And I think that is led by Mo and Ed on that top. And Ed is learning. He called himself out the other day. He said, I had a couple really bad games, which is refreshing to see. But it's letting Mo just go out there and play his game without having to worry about doubling back for coverage.
I've never seen the chemistry that we've seen with those two in such a long time on Detroit's back end. I kind of said that weird. The chemistry between those two on the back end is something we haven't seen in a very long time. And I think that's key.
Flip it and reverse it. That's what you did.
Yeah. Sounded better, right? That's played into the confidence. I think you mentioned Seider for sure, but it seems that Edmondson now is playing with an extra level of confidence. They really seem to know where each other's at. They're playing faster, it feels like at times, but they're also just really making an impact. I mean, yeah, you could argue the goal yesterday, I think it was Toffoli that split through and scored on. You could argue that maybe Seider could have been a little bit more aggressive. That one, for a change, I actually blame on Larkin with a very non-existent back check. If he actually puts any pressure on, there's no goal there. But I think as a whole, I mean, we saw it late last season. I don't even think late's the right way to put it. You saw it last season where they started getting together more on the ice with McClellan, and they just made their presence known. Now with this switch, it's even more prominent. And I think that's going to be important for Detroit moving forward as this season progresses, that they can play at that elite level while shutting teams down, getting your other defensive pairings a little bit more flexibility to do what they have to do and hopefully not get overwhelmed in the process.
Yeah, it's a quick break. We'll be right back. Word from our sponsor. We're going to talk about kind of the data Ryan uncovered about how good the Red Wings are actually doing this season, plus a little piece of news that just came out literally like 10 minutes ago, and a problem the Red Wings might have on the other side of the break. So give us 1 second. We will be right back. Hockey is back, and this season DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, brings you all the speed, skill, and nonstop action you love. DraftKings Sportsbook delivers the unmatched intensity of the NHL right to your fingertips. From player props to the thrill of live in-game betting, every drop of the puck is your shot to win big. And you can still bet on Emmett Finney for the Calder this season. He is racking up the points. New customers, this one is for you. Bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get paid out $300 in bonus bets instantly. Light the lamp all season long with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. Pass-through of per-wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. Copyright NHL 2025. All rights reserved. And we're back. And Ryan, okay, so we'll start with news first. Austin Watson was reassigned to Grand Rapids. What this means is that they've got one more game on the road trip. They do play the Vegas Golden Knights tomorrow, which is November 4th. This means that Austin Watson is not needed. The team is healthy. They're ready to go. They've got their lineup set. They don't expect anything to happen. No one's going to fall down a curb leaving the hotel. No one's going to trip off a bus. Everyone should be okay going into the game tomorrow. So Austin Watson goes back. This does not mean that Patrick Kane is healthy, though Patrick Kane may be on the way. But we get very limited updates on that. So that's a good piece of news. But something Ryan uncovered and that he mentioned in the first half is that this is the Red Wings' best start since the 2010-11 season, where they started the season 9-4 in 13 games. So Ryan, you can nerd on your data. Go ahead.
No, it's interesting because I wanted to play what I was really curious about earlier today was what's the fastest Detroit's been to 10 games, meaning there were 10 wins, I should say. And it took me back to the 2010-2011 season. Obviously, that's when they were just off of Stanley Cup, 2 back-to-back appearances. They were still one of the top teams in the West at that point. But you look at where things have been the last couple of years, even with Detroit being a more playoff wishful team, if you will. Like last season, for instance, through 14 games, I'll jump ahead one game to touch on the 10-win part. They were 6-8, or they had 6 wins, 13 points. The 8 flexibility just because how the data set up. 14 games in on 23-24 season, 7 wins, 16 points. 22-23 season, again, 14 wins, or 14 games, 7 wins, 17 points. So they've surpassed the last 3 seasons in a good way. 9-4 right now. They're a +3 in goal diff. They've got 44-4, 41 against. But I think what's important is when I was looking earlier, I think they're tied for first in the division. I think based on the point percentages, they're actually second. But what's the standout to it all? They've got 6 regulation wins, 6 regulation and overtime, or 7 regulation overtime wins. That is one to really focus in on as the season moves along, because that's what kept them out a couple seasons ago. And really is when it comes down to the wire, what makes or breaks a team. So the fact
how
that
good are you at overtime?
Yeah, well, just in trying to finish a game out. And right now we've had 2 games where they should have finished in regulation already that they didn't. One they did win in overtime. The other one they went to a shootout. So that's going to be keeping those to a minimum, or at least avoiding the shootout of all things, is going to be very important. But those regulation wins in particular, having 6 out of 9 already, I think is very important.
Well, that kind of brings me to my other topic that I had kind of pitched to you before, which is, do the Red Wings have a finishing problem? Which is a funny thing to say. But do they just have a problem closing out games now? You can look at the LA game, which was an absolute roller coaster of emotions, where there was a goal and then they were leaving the ice and Cam Talbot broke his stick. And then they're like, no, wait, there was goaltender interference. Everyone get back on the ice. And Todd's like, guys were already undressing in the locker room. Like, and I'm like, damn, that's quick. They like lose and run straight in the back and start taking their clothes off. But he said they got back out. They did the overtime. They went to a shootout. The Red Wings end up winning. But it was that sequence in the final 2 minutes where they pull their goalie. The Red Wings, like we said, continue to lose faceoffs in the defensive zone. And they're able to just put pressure, and score 2 quick goals and tie the game to actually take it into overtime. And we kind of had this issue last season too, at a point where the Red Wings just couldn't close out games. They'd be up by 1, and then the other team would end up tying it with like a minute left, or they'd end up getting 2 goals in quick succession and the Red Wings would lose. Is it a problem? I don't think it's a problem yet this season, but is it one that you could see developing? And is it possibly because like the kids just need to learn to go out there and just shut the door?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one, right? Because when the shit hits the fan, how are you going to react? And right now, I don't want to say they're tuck and tail, but they're a little too scatterbrained. They're trying to do, I think, a little bit too much rather than just keep it simple. And we're seeing
they're not treating it like a penalty kill, which is what they should be doing.
I was just getting that way with it. They slow things down, it seems like, with the PK. And maybe it's because it's turned into a 6-on-5, and that extra body out there maybe is not necessarily what they're anticipating or accustomed to. I mean, like, for instance, on one of the goals that Corey Perry scored, for instance, is you had Ed and Mo right in front of the net. Neither guy picked up a body. Easy puck that was fired from the point makes its way through, redirects right to Corey Perry for a slam dunk. Like, just small things like that where they're teachable and fixable moments, I think, to where they're at this point. And as long as they don't keep repeating these things as the season progresses, that's really all you can ask for. I mean, this is a goal scorer's league at this point. And trying to keep a team out of the net for a full 60 minutes is almost impossible. But I think that with the way that Detroit's being structured at the moment, even if they do have a loss that's going to be late like that, it is what it is. Just don't have a lot in a row, like we saw with March, for instance. Right now, they've been able to respond quite well to adversity and a loss and bounce back and then win. They had 2 losses in a row on the road. That's why I think we were kind of scared. We're like, what's going on? This doesn't look good. But then now they've won 3 of 4 on the road, hopefully to make this road trip 4 out of 5 and bring home quite a few points. That's what you're hoping for out of this team, I think, this season, is what you need out of this team.
And what did we say? They needed to win 3 on this road trip. I think we said we needed to take 3 out of 5 on the road trip. And they're well on their way to doing that, which is super important because they've showed they can kick ass at home. We said, can they find that consistency on the road after losing the games they did in the fashion that they did on the road? Was, like you said, pretty worrying. And it looks like they flipped that script a little bit. Maybe not the game. Let's have more of the second game against the Blues and less of the game against the Ducks. And I think that's a recipe for success. You got to, like I said, go in tomorrow and beat a really good Golden Knights team at home, where it's a really loud arena. Now, luckily, the Red Wings are a well-traveled team, and there should be a lot of red in that arena. So maybe you take the wind out of the sails a little bit there. But then they come back home and they play the Rangers, which not a great team this season. They play the Blackhawks, which the Blackhawks fans are in their own heads about making the playoffs and stuff. And Bedard's been really good this season so far, but they're still not a good team. That should be a winnable game. The Ducks come into LCA on November 13th. You've got the Sabres on November 15th, and then you go back on the road for 1 game against the Rangers before coming back home. So you do have a pretty solid homestand after the Golden Knights. So it's time to stack those points, build it up, build that buffer in, be in a playoff position by American Thanksgiving. That's what they say. And we kind of proved that wrong last season.
Yeah, we really shit the bed on that one.
In that position this year and just make it happen again.
The home piece is very important. Right now, you look at their record, 9-4, right? They're 5-1 to start the year at home. If you can maintain that type of ratio over the month of November,
which is insane,
you're building the buffer that you're hoping will sustain you throughout the season, because you're not going to get that every time. But if you can somehow get that to a point, I mean, as a whole, looking at November for Detroit the last several years, going back to the 10-11 season, and that same year where they just were on fire, they went 10-3 that year for 21 points. If you can mimic that, I don't know how many games they actually have for the month of November offhand, you're going to be in a very good spot. Same thing they had in 2011, 2012. They went 10 wins for 21 points. Since
they have
that
13
point,
games in November, Ryan.
So they have 13 games. They haven't hit 10 wins in a month in the month of November since the 2011-2012 season. If you can get to at least 9, go 9-4 again in this month, or 9-3-1, if you're stealing points in 10, 11 games somehow, I'll buy it.
Yeah, that's recipe for success kind of stuff. You asked last season, what did they need to do differently in order to secure their place in the playoffs? Well, it was win more games against divisional opponents, win close games, don't get blown out. But it was string together wins and play really well at home, and then don't back down, which they've started to do this season. We've seen a lot of it. Todd's on them constantly. He holds them accountable. It's the season of accountability. That's a word you're going to hear a lot. Consistency and accountability. It's playing a repeatable game, playing it every time you get on the ice, a full 60 minutes, and holding yourself accountable. And where it's really going to come into effect, if you look at the end of November, the 28th, the 29th, and December 2nd, you play the Lightning, and then you have a back-to-back against the Bruins. While an away and a home against the Bruins, not really a back-to-back, but 2 against the same opponent. And that's where you stack those points, stack them in your division, get that divisional wins where you just keep your opponents down. Because we saw the other night, they're going to keep picking up points. There was an overtime game against between the Senators and the Canadiens, which you don't want, because that's more points in your division. So it's important to go on these streaks. It's important to play well on the road. It's important to keep playing strong at home. Can they maintain it? Some of the books don't think so. Money Puck doesn't think so. It's weird to see how well we've done. We are second right now in the division. We're like 4th or 5th in the
tied.
Yeah, in the conference, but they have us at like a 48% chance of making the playoffs, which they're like, well, the Red Wings take a month off once a season, and we're just going to go based on historical data.
Yeah, and that's what's going to be interesting, right? Because you look at the month of November last year, Detroit went 6-6-1 for 13 points, 23rd in the league. If you can hit that 9-win plateau, if you look at last season in particular, only 5 teams had 9 wins or more. Those 9 or 10 wins was put you at the top. And I think every single one of these, the Wildcats, Hurricanes, Devils, and Jets, were all playoff teams. So this is a big freaking month.
Keep doing what you have not done for 15 years, and it should be successful. Get back to the playoffs. That's where you want to be. Ryan, I want to get your final thoughts before we sign off.
Yeah, final thoughts. You have a winnable month as a team. And to have as many home games, what is the actual count? They have 9 home games right now. As I mentioned earlier, they're 5-1 at home. If you can win 7 of those and keep that trend going, and they've already stolen, I shouldn't say stolen, they've salvaged a win on the road already. So that can be 8 wins. Now you have to find another win on the road between Vegas, New York, New Jersey, or Boston, which I think all of those can be winnable games. And you find yourself in a good spot. Now, there's going to be some tests, I think. I don't give them a win against the Rangers. I don't give them a win against Buffalo because, for whatever reason, that is a team that has kryptonite on them. Anaheim will be interesting, but I think they can beat them at home. Seattle, for whatever reason, is a weird one. And the Isles, they always play really good against Detroit. And there's no guarantees for how this can go. but it's more favorable, I think, as a whole, just because they are at home. And if you can capitalize on that this month and have yourself a successful go at it, and as he mentioned, it leads right into Thanksgiving. If you're in that spot, preferably a little bit higher than the wild card this time, that bodes well. But now, can you continue to build off it if they get to that point? See, already ran 33.
Yeah, just keep crushing it. That's what I keep doing. Keep playing your game, because your game, the style that you've set out for yourself and the game you want to play in the game we've seen you play when you're at your best, you can beat any team on any night with that style. But once that power play picks back up and Patrick Kane is back, then, I mean, you're just that much more dangerous. But you can follow me online at Breaking the Wing. You can follow the Grindline Podcast online at Grindline Pod. Give a shout out to the Hockey Podcast Network and thank them for hosting us around. Vintage Detroit Collection, which is the only place you get your Detroit jerseys from and worked on, where we have an exclusive t-shirt collection. If you go there, click the Keep It Local tab, click the Grindline Podcast, you'll find all our stuff there. And we would love for you to sub to us on YouTube. Turn on those notifications. You will be notified whenever an episode goes live. But that is going to do it for us tonight. So for Ryan, I am Greg. You stay classy, Hockey Town.